Welcome back to Divine Discussions, Madison and Carly. And this is episode 14 of the show. We are going to discuss the topic of priorities, setting priorities. What does that mean? Talking about what maybe our priorities are versus what they used to be. There's so many things we could talk about in this topic. But I want to know, Madison, how did you figure out how to prioritize? Like, I know you're a busy woman. I know you have a lot going on. But when it comes to like in the self-development world and stuff, having to prioritize your life can be really, really hard. And I think it starts you have to first understand what you prioritize, like actually, because some people don't know. What are your top priorities? Like what do you like to focus on every day? I hope this is making sense. Mm-hmm. And like maybe compared to what you used to prioritize and the difference, right? And like how you've changed. Loaded question, but
okay. So, oh my God, this year, 2021, my priorities changed completely. I started putting myself first. So my priority became myself. Because it used to always be everybody else around me. Used to be my mom was my priority, my spouse was my priority, everybody else, my business was my priority, all this stuff, but I was not priority. So this year I've made a decision to go, okay, you know what? You can't help anybody else. You can't do anything. You can't pour into anybody else if your cup isn't filled first. So I prioritize, like you said, personal development. I prioritize myself first thing in the morning. Oh my God, you're frozen, baby girl. I don't know what, I'm going to pause this. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, technical difficulties. We are back. So I was just talking about how I started prioritizing myself this year. And so when I say that I started prioritizing myself, I started creating a morning routine where I put myself first every single day. That's my priority. So when I wake up, the first 4 hours of my day are me. Okay. I wake up at 5. So I have 6, 7, 8. Okay, 3 hours actually. 3 hours are me time and me time only. I get up, I do my personal development. First and foremost, I do my spirituality. I meditate, I do breath work, and then I get outside and I do some working out. I move my body, I go for a walk, I come home, I work out, and then I do some personal development. So I listen to a podcast or I read, stuff like that. And then I get my business stuff going for the day. That's how I prioritize myself. And that's what is most important to me out of anything. I hope that answered your question.
Good. Yeah. And have you always been like that? Like, what did you use to prioritize before? Like, what did you focus on a lot?
I used to not prioritize myself. I used to be around other people and I would prioritize them first. So let's talk about my spouse, for instance. Whatever his day was going, I would revolve my day around whatever he was doing. Or I would just, whatever was going on, I would just kind of go with the flow. And then I would end up being last because I wanted to please everybody else. And that doesn't work for you in the long run when you have big goals and big dreams. Like that doesn't work out. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive, isn't it? You don't really know that I think it's so hard to get clear sometimes. Like, I think maybe some people hear priorities. What are my priorities? But sometimes people don't think about it. They don't actually sit down and like write it down and maybe think that maybe I need to change what's going on, because I find that if things aren't happening and you're not happy, it's because you're not prioritizing the right things. Like you're focusing, like you said, like with you, it was all about the other person and you didn't really have a voice to that. It was just very much not what does Madison want, it was what does everybody else want.
Yeah.
And I find that, yeah, when you don't know, people don't think about it. And like that was a big thing for me. I didn't really understand why things like weren't working out for me, or things were a bit messy and stuff. It's because I was just focusing on all the wrong things. All the wrong things. Um, so yeah, but thank you for sharing that. Um, I'm just trying to think of anything of how I prioritized the wrong things before. I remember I
Yeah.
was just more so I wanted to fit in, look cool, prioritize the party days. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was a big priority for me, like the being out, going out, having a good time, until it wasn't. Um, and then even now, I had to sit down and realign what my values are and what's important to me, because I find that we all have the same 24 hours in a day, even the successful people. And I find that if you ever hear people say, I'm too busy to get things done, I'm just too busy, I can't do it, I don't have time,
Yeah. Yes.
you know. Um, and I think that that is, in my opinion, based off of my experience, if you want to make something work, you will make it happen. You can make it happen, if you prioritize it and if it means something to you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't mean something to you, you're too busy for it. So that's just some of the excuses that I've heard from other people and myself, but I don't use that anymore. I can't because I'm like, no, if it's important, I'll get it done, even if I don't want to do it. I
Yeah.
know it's going to better me, so I prioritize it, right? So do you have any tips you can give to people on how that they can maybe get clear on what their priorities are or should be?
Um, so I think it's just like you have to get clear on what it is that you want out of life. What is your goal? Where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? What is that big, juicy goal? And this always goes back to this. It always goes back to this. What is the goal? What is your reason why you got up every single day to do what you do? And then you need to go, well, what am I prioritizing right now? So, what I do every single day is going to determine where I end up. And that's where you have to kind of think like, so for example, for me, I have been doing so basically a year ago. Yeah, a year ago in like March, April, I signed up for an NLP course that should only really take like 2 months max because you're doing it online at your own pace. And I ended up just not like, I like went through a whole bunch of it at first and then I got discouraged. I mean, the world kind of collapsed. And so I give myself a little bit of grace because of that. But my priorities weren't that. My priorities shifted and were worrying about other people or partying or just having fun. I went through this phase where I was like, oh, I just don't care. I just want to have fun and just enjoy life. So my priorities weren't that. I wasn't thinking about the future. I wasn't thinking, where am I going to be in 5 years? So now I'm in a place right now where I've completely um, switched my lifestyle. I went, okay, things aren't working for me the way I want them to go because I'm a little bit hardcore. Um, I'm a little bit of an all or nothing kind of person, and sometimes I just make flip the switch and I totally change what I'm doing. And that just seems to work for me. So the way I work doesn't work for everybody. And I'm just going to say that right away. But I made a huge switch on how I was running my life so that I could switch my priorities and work on what's most important to me, which is getting my schooling finished and working on my business to get to the position that I want to be by the end of the year. And that's where I'm at, and that's where my priorities are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I love what you said about the why. Like when you actually have a reason for the priority in itself, it's getting clear on what's not working for you, what's like why maybe you feel like you're such, and this is my experience, like a hot mess, kind of chaotic, things are always all over the place, like why are things not structured or working out? It's because I wasn't actually prioritizing the right things.
Yeah.
And understanding, let's just say for example, you want to get healthy, you want to feel good, but so you're like, oh, but I love potato chips, I just prioritize like having a good time with my friends and eating out. When if you actually have such a strong why as to why you want to be healthy, that will help make that a really big focus and like focal point. So by the time someone's offering to go out, let's go get some beer and french fries, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, if you want to prioritize and change up your lifestyle a little bit, you have more determination to say no, not now, and prioritize focusing on maybe going to the gym that day, or like doing development to better. Journaling really helps for me, is when you journal all of your stuff down and figuring out what actually, and be realistic with what you're actually prioritizing. Some people say, yeah, but I prioritize that, that, and that, but they don't. Like, you don't. Like, your actual actions that you're taking every day are a contradiction to what you actually want. So when you align what you do with your actions compared to what you want, that is when you're actually in alignment, because you're living up to what you actually want to accomplish, or what you want to focus on, or just admit that that's not your priority and that you're doing the opposite. Because I think you can get a little bit like inauthentic with that, and you can lie to yourself and say that this is something that's important, but you're too busy to do it all of a sudden every single day.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally. And you know what? Even like knowing, so this is something that I learned in NLP, is about the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is the mind that does all the things behind the door, basically. Like, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about blinking. You don't have to worry about how to walk. Your subconscious mind does those things for you. But your subconscious mind also goes to work for things like your goals and stuff like that. It loves to serve you, but it responds to authority. So if you're not prioritizing the proper things, if you're not doing what you say you're going to do, your subconscious mind is not going to trust you or listen to you. And now you're not actually in control of your own thoughts, your own actions, because you don't even trust yourself.
Yeah, it's like another habit in itself, is when you keep breaking promises to yourself, that becomes a habit. And then when you promise yourself something, it's so easy just to be like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Oh, I love that. That's so much. That's so true. That's so true. And I hate it. I used to be like that. And
Yeah.
then now, you know what I say to myself? Oh, this really gets me, and this really bothers me, because it's such a quote and a line that puts me in my place when I just want to cop out and I want to be lazy. But I say to myself, Carly, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes, I love that quote. Oh my gosh, I've heard that before and it is so true.
Oh my God, it's so true. And then it makes me work harder, because I'm like, I know I should be working harder here. And how I do one thing is how everything's going to look. So do well, work hard, get it done, and don't half-ass it. I half-assed a lot of things, and I broke a lot of promises with myself, hence as to why we become so out of alignment.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big part of, I think, why we prioritize what we do, or if we're not actually focusing on what we should be focusing on, what makes us happy, right? Or what's gonna help make us grow, right?
I totally agree. And it's just, it always comes back to like what I was saying, your goals. Like, where do you want to be? Why do you want to be there? And then do the action, because your priorities are gonna create your lifestyle. So I think it's so common to see so many people not even know what their priorities are.
Yeah.
Because I know I was there, right? It's like you wake up and you just do the things that you're doing and you don't even realize it's on autopilot sometimes. And you have to take that time and sit back and go, oh my God, what am I prioritizing in my life? Make a list about it. What are the things that you're prioritizing now? What are the things you want to prioritize? What things you can cut out now, and start saying no more to those things, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's about how you fit that in your calendar. Like, not only will you get clear on what you don't want, get clear on what you do want, write a list of the priorities in different categories, could
Mhm.
be. And then you can fit it throughout your calendar through each day, of like, where am I fitting this? Maybe filling up your cup, your self-care. Okay, what am I doing throughout the week to actually prove that I'm prioritizing that, instead of just talking about it?
Yeah.
Right? And actually blocking off the time. Is your business important to you? Are you actually doing the work for it? Block off that time as well. Is your relationships okay? Are you doing a phone call with your friend that you haven't talked to in ages? What about your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or what, your partner, or whatever? and fitting these little blocks in throughout your life and your days. But it all starts with getting clear on what it is first. So then you can actually put it through. And even if you're not that organized of a person, it's still, you can still become that. Like there's still always room for growth. It doesn't mean you have to drastically change overnight, but if you start with the small things, and I started doing this little checklist every day on these little things that I could do to better myself, and that grew into something bigger, right?
Yeah. And you don't have to be organized to prioritize things because you're naturally going to prioritize what's most important to you. And that's where you just have to figure out what is most important to you. And is the things that you are saying is most important to you right now, does that make sense for the long run, right? So
Yeah.
for you, how do you prioritize the things that are most important?
Um, yeah, I think it just really helped me. I was always very resistant. Just talk about organization, right? Organizing my life, and I was never really good at that. So I changed up my language about that. First of all, I changed up my language about how I actually am and how I want to be. So I started to say I'm the most organized person in the world. I'm very structured. I got my life together. We're good, even if it was a lie in the beginning. Um, but at one point, I think I really did hit like a really low point in my life when I did feel very off, and like even like I'm not gonna lie, the friends around me, the people around me, I was like, I don't think I'm meant to be here. And I think it becomes to getting aware of as well, like what is your environment? What are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Is it hard to be focused on what you actually want to do when maybe you're living out of alignment, or you're living maybe another person's life in a sense because you grew past it but you didn't know how to leave? Because it's hard to leave, and not leave forever, but just even for a moment to get some space to figure out who you are, because we get so muffled and like very chaotic if we're not living a life that feels true to us, but we're just doing it anyways because we think that's what we should be doing because we grew up that way or we've always been there. Things can change. And when I realized that I can actually change, that I can live a different, better life, and it was in my hands and in my power, that's when I started to get more clear on, okay, then what do I actually want? Like what is this woman that I want to become? And that kind of like flooded open this big gate of all these different thoughts and ideas. And I stuck around with people who had big goals and big dreams because that's what I wanted. And I know not everybody wants that. Some people just like to have like just cruise and get like just be happy, and that's fine. But that wasn't for me. I felt itchy in my skin. I was like, oh, I'm made for more and I don't know where or what or how I'm gonna get there. But I started writing out a joy menu, this joy menu of what makes me really happy. It's part of the program we work with, right, Madison? That's what's in there. So I started getting clear on what makes me happy with self-care and putting myself first and implementing that in my calendar. And it's exactly what I just said before. I just got really clear and I wrote down a lot. But it's not even just writing down what's a priority, it's writing down why.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important to you? Because if you don't know the why with it, that's attached to it, it's easy to half-ass and to say no and to lie to yourself and to break promises with yourself.
Yeah.
And I stopped that a long time ago, and I'm trying to get better at it. And it still happens, but I hope that helped. I hope that
We're
makes sense.
human, of course, right? Like
Yeah.
it was great. That did help. And I think it's important for us to realize like we can be so hard on ourselves. Like I know I'm so hard on myself, and it's like you have to celebrate the little wins. Oh my goodness, I actually did what I said I was going to do today. Good job. Yes. Oh, I prioritized all these amazing things. Wow. Okay, great. I'm making these small steps and I'm making progress. Good job, right? That's another thing that I'm starting to prioritize as well is celebrating the little wins because for so long I have worked really hard for goals, reached them, like accomplished the goal and then not celebrated it. Been like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And now I'm like, screw that. That's not a fun way to live life. Like, celebrate all the little wins, even if it's just a little celebration with like a little glass of wine and you have a little cheers about it, or you do something fun for yourself, or whatever it is, even if it's just big, small, doesn't matter. Just celebrate.
Yeah, and that you become more confident, I think, when you do that. You become more confident, first of all, when you actually do the small thing, small, big, whatever, you still did it. Even if it's having a positive thought instead of a negative one, or like flipping the switch,
Yeah.
that even is like, wow, I did that. I'm now more in control of the way my thoughts work.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take myself out for dinner tonight. Like, it could be anything, right? And
Yeah.
that, again, you just become more confident and more loving on who you are, and it's a package deal, I find. um,
Yeah.
you will become more confident in your own skin when you
Mhm.
start to see your worth and see your efforts, even if it is one step at a time. And or else, like you said, Madison, it'll just pass you by, and then you're just on the next thing, and then you totally bypass that whole thing that was so important to you for so long, and then it's not, because you got there without even thinking about it, or you
Yep.
thought about it so hard nothing else mattered, and then you just forget. You have to, what's the point of life then if we're not actually taking in the present moments as we go? We bypass, we don't think about it, right?
It just gets boring.
Yeah, I get the hustle, but like, come on, baby, let's have a bit of like, let's enjoy the ride
Yeah.
as we go,
Hmm.
right?
And that's
Yeah.
us as humans too. We're always striving for more, always. So you have to give yourself something to strive for. Be like, what are you gonna do to celebrate when you get there? How are you gonna treat yourself?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things that I have on my list that I want to do to treat myself when I reach my certain goals. And I'm looking forward to it. But if I'm not there yet, it's okay. I'm like, I will be. I know I'm worthy of all of that. And I'm going to take care of myself along the way, because I'm not going to sell myself short anymore. And I'm more clear than I've ever been. But I was not always like that. And I honor every phase of how I've come to this point, and I can't wait for the rest of the phases to learn more, and maybe to mess up a bunch more times and probably fall on my face, but it's okay. It's okay. And it's about honoring every step and celebrating and being present. These are great golden nuggets. I love what we're talking about. This is great.
Me too. And you know what? I think every week it all kind of goes in together with the stuff that we talk about, which I love because it all goes into like where are you going and how are you getting there, right? It's like all we're trying to do is give a little bit of nuggets that we've learned along the way because we didn't have somebody sitting there giving them all to us. I wish.
Yeah, that's true. I want to give what no one gave me. Yeah, that's the point. Well, yeah, I hope this is coming across as useful and helpful for anybody who watches this. I think, Madison, I just love how we can just chat about these things every single week and give as much value as possible. Because, again, like you said, if I feel like we have learned all this stuff the hard way
Mm,
along the way. So if we could give someone maybe a bit of a fast track to at least just learning a little bit more, I think I've done my job.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's all I want. And I know too, sometimes you have to hear things in different ways, right? For it to click in. And sometimes you need to hear it from somebody that's a peer that talks like you, sounds like you, looks like you, whatever. So you can relate to it. Cause I know I've seen people like, Tony Robbins or these big leaders that you see up on stage that say something and you're like, wow, oh my gosh, I wish I could be like them. And then you hear somebody just like you say something pretty similar and you're like, oh my god, yeah, I can do that, of course I can. It's just
Yeah.
like,
It's crazy, right? It clicks. I think we always get those aha moments. Depends on, it could be those random person that you don't know that says something in such a way that you're like, oh my God, I get it now. Oh my God, my mom's been telling me this my whole life, but this one person that said this one time and now I get it. But that's just it. It's I think when we're ready to hear it, when we're ready to, or open to maybe making a shift in ourselves, I think that's when everything kind of opens a little bit.
yes, all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's a whole new world out here.
Like, yo, it's been there the whole time. Yeah. But anyways, I thought this is a great episode. I would love to end it there. I don't think there's anything else we can add. There's so much gold in that. Is there anything else you want to add, Madison?
I don't think
No?
so. I think that was awesome. Thanks for hopping on with me, and we will see you guys next week.